I'm Corrie, this is my family, we live in this van, and this is my dream life. Having retired my husband, we hit the road and we are travelling full-time as a family around Europe. After our travels, we plan to settle down on an off-grid homestead in Ireland, but how exactly have we pulled this off? How do we have the time and the money to live this dream life? I'm answering your burning question today. Definitely autumn now. In my experience, there are only two things standing between you and your dream life: time and money. Kind of obvious, right? So if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that for the last 2.5 months, we've been traveling around France, Switzerland, Italy, now we're in the Balkans. We're on a year of full-time travel as a family. So we've obviously made the time for the dream life, but how have we made the money? There are a ton of van life channels out there. There's a ton of homesteading channels. There's a ton of people doing other cool things that are their dream lives. But what I don't see enough of is people being real about how they're paying for it all. How are they making this dream life happen? And so it doesn't surprise me that this is a question I get all the time. I also know that talking about money isn't always a popular thing. Everyone wants to know about it, but not everybody wants to have the conversation, right? I'm happy to go there. I'm willing to do it, so we're going to be answering this today. I remember about 10 years ago, I followed the Instagram account and blog of this woman who decided to take her family out of school. Her husband left his job, they sold their house in London, and they went traveling around the world full time. That was what planted the seed for me of this idea of full-time travel as a family. But back then, our lives and financial situation was very different. I had no idea how we would make that happen financially, and she didn't share any of the ins and outs of how they were actually doing it. How were they funding that year of travel, that dream life for them? And so because I didn't know how we could make that happen, it just was this like pipe dream, this thing that was like something fun for my husband and I to talk about sometimes, but it didn't seem like something we could actually do. And that's why I really want to have this conversation with you today, because if you are feeling like you want to be living whatever is your version of your dream life, and you're wondering how the heck are we doing this, how are we finding the time, how are we finding the money, I want to be transparent about that. Now, what's worked for me might not necessarily be what everybody would want to do, but it is more possible than we have been led to believe. So it's distracting me. I think it's a blue tit. It's so adorable. So for years it just stayed a dream, one of those nice to have conversations, and yet here we are doing it. Here we are living our version of the dream life. How have we made it happen? I bet you have some assumptions about how we've made this year of travel happen, how we're funding the dream life. Let me know in the comments your assumptions, because I always find them really, really fascinating. I've had a ton of messages from people making assumptions already about how we've done it, and also, of course, asking the question. But I'm really curious to know, like, how do you think we've done this? How do you think we've pulled it off? Before we get stuck into the how, I want to give you a bit of a van life and travel update. I don't know if you can tell from where we are right now. We're actually in an adorable little Airbnb overlooking a lake. There's a bit of noise from the road, which, you know, if I'm honest, I would cancel that out. But other than that, it's idyllic. But I want to catch you up on Italy. That's where I last left you. And there's one particular week we spent in Italy, which was just so delightful and really sort of accidentally luxurious. So for any of you who think that van life doesn't look very luxurious, and the reality is sometimes it really isn't, there is a way to enjoy a kind of more high-end luxury experience while still traveling around in your van. And like I said, we just stumbled across it. One of the things I really love about van life is that sometimes we arrive somewhere late and in the dark, and you get to wake up and discover where exactly you are in the morning. So on this particular morning, we woke up at Lake Iseo, or overlooking it up in the mountains, and it was just such a beautiful park up. We were really spoiled with this one. It was just delightful, and this was our first stumble into what I would call like luxury van life, because as you're going to see in a minute, there was just the most vibey infinity pool that was there with just this little campsite, just a few spaces. So we spent a morning having a cup of tea, looking out at the view. This is as close as it gets to a date night these days in van life. So looking out over the lake and just having a catch up while our daughter was still asleep. And then in the afternoon, it was straight into that infinity pool. I'm not going to lie, it was really cold in the pool. It wasn't heated, and although it was warm outside, you can see from my expression there, it was really quite chilly.
To the right.
And you're also going to get a glimpse into the reality of filming for YouTube there, because you can see me conferring with my daughter who's behind the camera.
Yeah, good enough.
That's just how it is sometimes. But we spent a really lovely afternoon relaxing by the pool. We did a little bit of homeschool by the pool and had fun in the floaty. This was just that kind of little slice of heaven, stumbling across some luxury overlooking Lake Iseo. Unfortunately, we couldn't stay there for too long because just logistically, it wasn't somewhere that was set up for us to stay longer term. It wasn't really accessible on foot to any kind of shops or anything. And taking the van out, as you're about to see, can sometimes be tricky in these older winding roads that aren't accustomed to our absolute beast of a vehicle.
Might have been mountain roads, as long as it's not in the wrong direction.
Everyone breathe in. Don't mind us, just doing a 3-point turn on the hairpin tiny winding road. We found ourselves next at the most idyllic park up in a place called Castel Nuovo Magra in Italy, and it was exactly the kind of Italian van life experience I'd really been hoping for. So we stayed on the property of this elderly woman who we affectionately called Nonna, and this is some of her fresh produce that we bought from her. We bought her wine, her olive oil from her estate, or small estate here, and it was just beautiful. The views from the van across the hills and up to the actual town itself. Look at the sunset. How glorious was that? And we just spent a really great few days there enjoying just that proper kind of Italian experience. The wine, the olive oil and the tomatoes. I mean, that's just the kind of like triumvirate for me. So check out the moon, the full moon over the castle there. The camera, it wasn't so great at picking it up, but it was absolutely huge. It always makes it look further away. Okay, we're down to one wine glass now, because in here are the remnants of the other wine glass. I'd rested my phone and you guys up here to get a shot, which really wasn't worth it because it fell down, smashed the wine glass. And now we've just got one. I'll have to have my wine out of here. Ooh, did you hear that? Bats. Literally the best tomato I've ever put. This is why I shouldn't film things in my mouth. What's your reaction? I didn't film that.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that the best tomato you've ever tasted?
Yeah.
We're not going to end up with any in the salad because I'm just busy eating them. Would you check out this place? Oh my days. So literally just down the road, walking distance from Nonna's, where we were parked, was this stunning location. It's a vineyard and it has a few rooms, I think, and a little restaurant, and this glorious pool that we had all to ourselves. The second infinity pool with a view in a really short space of time. And we just stumbled across this and it felt like such a win. We felt like VIPs for the day. We had the place to ourselves. There were no other guests there. So we booked in for a tour of the vineyards and a wine tasting, and Valeria, the host there, said that she's more than happy for us to use the pool for the day. So use the pool we did. I mean, how could we not? Just look at this. Look at the view across the vineyards. I mean, just pinch me. This was one of those absolutely amazing moments I think we'll always remember. And it just goes to show that just because you're living in a van doesn't mean that you can't have a little slice of luxury every now and then. That's hilarious. Point to the rock. We nearly ate that. We were like, oh, what kind of biscuit is that? He was like, it's a rock.
It looked like something that could have
like a nice bit of biscotti or something. Okay, come on then. Let's do a race. So we spent the day flopping about in the pool, and we had some lunch on the terrace, which was really delicious. Food there is absolutely excellent. Then after lunch, my husband and daughter went back to the pool for a bit, and I did an hour of work from the terrace, which was also a vibe in and of itself. And after that, we did our tour, and it was really interesting learning about the history of this vineyard and how it had been established by her grandparents.
Cheers.
And yeah, just had a really wonderful day as a family and enjoyed this accidental second stumble into the luxurious side of van life. Well, family, was that an epic day or was that an epic day? So let's get into some of the guesses that I've had thus far on how we're funding the dream life, and I'll go through and myth bust some of them. So let me just get my phone here. There were really common themes amongst them, so I've kind of categorized them. Are you using money from the sale of your house? Some of you who might have been following this channel for a little while would know that we sold our family home back in January and moved into a rental property in preparation for moving ultimately to Ireland. So, and I'm tripping over the word Ireland because I've had some funny comments about I don't pronounce it correctly, and I'm going to have to learn to pronounce it the Irish way when we get to Ireland. I've added it to my to-do list, don't worry. So are we using money from the sale of our house? No, we are not. We need that money to buy our forever farm, right? Did you save up for it? No. No, we didn't. No, we didn't spend like years diligently saving for this. That's not what happened. Is your husband working and paying for it? No, neither. He's neither working nor paying for it. Did you get an inheritance or gift? No, no gifts, no inheritance came our way to fund this. These, by the way, I'm hoping the fact that none of these are true are good news, because you don't have to save up for ages for your dream life necessarily. You don't have to find a partner who's going to bankroll everything unless you want to. You don't have to wait for an inheritance or a gift. The other one that lots of them fell into the category of was, are you both working all the time behind the scenes? Gosh, that would be miserable, wouldn't it? If you're kind of like going on this van life adventure and actually just squirreled away in the van working all the time. No, thankfully, we're not working all the time behind the scenes. So how are we paying for it? Let's get to the real reason that we're all here. Let's get into the juice of it. And as I'm about to share this, I know that money can be a bit of a hot topic, and I want to kind of preface it with something. That I have a very clear motivation in why I'm addressing this. Yes, it's a question that I've got. I would be perfectly within my rights not to answer it, right? However, I just genuinely believe that this is going to come off so cheesy, and I don't care, I'm just going to say it anyway. I genuinely believe that if more of us were living whatever is our versions of the dream life, and I personally shun the cookie cutter, homogenous kind of view of success that we've been force fed in our culture. There might be aspects of it that you enjoy, there might be aspects of it that I enjoy, but I really think the dream life should be just so unique to you. So anyway, I genuinely believe that if more of us were pursuing and living our dream lives, the world would be a better place. Told you that was going to sound cheesy. I'm unapologetic about sharing this though, because I know 10 years ago I was working in a job that did not light my soul on fire. I was not making the kind of money I wanted to make, and I felt like we didn't have options, and I definitely felt like we were not living the dream life. And fast forward to where we are now, dream life in full swing. I am a much nicer person to be around. I'm much more content, and I used to complain a lot back then. Now, I think some of that has to do with the kind of mindset shift that I made over the years, out of like being a victim of my circumstances to taking charge of it. But that being said, I just have this rock solid belief that the more of us who are out there pursuing our own crazy, quirky, unique dreams, the better everything is. And so I really want that for you. And that was one of the real reasons why I started this channel. The purpose isn't really to be like, hey, look at me living my dream life, even though that's sometimes how it comes off, I guess. But the purpose is to hopefully inspire some people to go and think about what is their dream life and live it, and to show how possible it is through the ups and downs, and that it doesn't always look perfect, but you can do cool things. You can go and get out of your comfort zone. You can go and do things that other people think are crazy, and you can live that dream. Anyway, that's been my experience and what I've seen both personally and through my years of work as a success coach and helping other women live their dream lives. So that's my little TED talk done. Okay, let's get into the truth about how we're making this happen. So I've told you how we're not doing it. How are we doing it? My business is funding it. My business is bankrolling this year of travel. I like to call my business a dream life business because it gives me the time and the money, both those things, for us to be doing cool things like traveling around the world full time in our van. So I typically work 12 to 15 hours a week. So definitely not squirreling away behind the scenes working all the time. I've retired my husband, at least temporarily. We're not necessarily on the same page about that. I don't want him to return to work at all. He might want to return to work. We'll see what happens. But he doesn't need to, is the point, because of my business. So I'm super proud of that, and I'm happy to share that because I want people to know how possible that is. I'm not special. I'm not some kind of unicorn. And I know through my work and having seen dozens and dozens of other women create something similar for themselves in terms of a business that will give them the time and the money to live their dream lives, I just know how possible it is, and that's why I'm happy to share it. So the other thing that my business gives me, actually, it's not just about the time and the money, it gives me a ton of fulfillment. I am obsessed with my clients and the work that I do. Just getting to support people in living their dreams and creating thriving businesses and seeing them thrive and their families thrive alongside it, it just lights my soul on fire. I just love it so much. I have to rein myself in because I could just wax lyrical about how much I love my work and my clients. I could talk about it till the cows come home, quite literally. So my husband handed in his notice back before we left the UK, and we don't currently have any plans for him to return to work. So like I said, I say that I've retired him. He thinks he might return to work at some point. I think he might want to, but we'll see how busy he gets with the farm. So there you go. That's the big secret. That's how it's my business. My business is funding this whole thing and giving us the time for it too. You might be asking, if you're not a business owner, or maybe even if you are, you might be asking, was it hard to set this up? Was it a really long struggle? Honestly, no. There are challenges with setting up a business and making it successful, of course, but it didn't actually take me very long at all, and it wasn't nearly as hard as a lot of people make it out to be. So I just want to share that as perhaps a bit of a unique perspective. It doesn't actually have to be that difficult. And I never have worked full-time in my business, actually. So from the moment that I started, because my daughter was quite small at the time, so I've had my business for 6 years now, I decided that I wasn't ever going to work more than an absolute maximum of 25 hours a week, and back then I typically worked around 20. So yeah, it hasn't ever required a ton of time for me. So it's been that dream life business from very, very early on in terms of giving me the time. So back then my dream life was being there with my daughter more, working part-time, making more money than I'd been making in my corporate job, and my business enabled me to do those things really quite quickly. When I was planning this episode, I thought about the fact that I'd really like to do something to just bring more value, because not everyone is going to be at a point of wanting to start their own business or having started their own business, but I know that there will be some of you who are really curious about how you could be funding your own dream life, or really curious about how I made my business successful as quickly as I did. So I've created something for you for free. I've done it while we've been on the road as well, which has been really fun. I first had the idea for it while we were in France, actually, and I started getting these questions. And then I've been working on it in various different countries since then, which is quite cool. So I thought about, what can I create for you if you are at a stage in life where you're either thinking of starting your own business or you've gotten started but it hasn't really taken off yet. What could I give you that would be of the most value to you for where you're at? And the thing that really struck me was that while business doesn't have to be overly difficult and overly complicated and take a ton of time, there's a lot of noise in the outside space, and there are some really common pitfalls that I've seen over the years. I've fallen into some of them myself, and I've helped countless clients out of them numerous times. So there are pitfalls that you can find yourself in on this journey. So I've created a guide to help you sidestep them. So it is the 4 biggest mistakes that I see keeping people from creating both the time and the money within their business to be living their dream life. So if you want to know the 4 biggest mistakes not to make, head over to corylivesthedreamlife.com/unlock. I've called it unlock because it's really, if you can sidestep these 4 things and avoid them or get out of them, then you're unlocking your ability to live your dream life. So I'll pop a link here, but I'll also pop it in the description, so you just can go and click on that. It's absolutely free, my gift to you. I just wanted to do something as a little thank you for, we've got loads of newcomers here lately, which has been delightful, but also thank you for everybody who's been just supporting this channel so far, leaving just beautiful and lovely comments, and also some of the funny ones as well. I love those too. And I didn't really just want to answer this question and be like, there you go, I figured it out, bye. That would just be kind of like, I don't know, a bit obnoxious. So not only have I figured it out, I am willing to help you figure it out too for free. So go and grab that guide. I've poured a ton into it. I really wanted to make it very valuable. I know there's people on the internet giving away stuff for free that's padded with fluff and filler. You will not find that in my guide. So head over to corylivesthedreamlife.com/unlock and grab yours if that sounds good. And actually, as we've been talking about the dream life in this capacity today, I would love to know, I'm so curious, let me know what your dream life is in the comments. I find people's dreams endlessly fascinating. The nuance of it, the quirks, the different things that make it specifically yours. Let me know below, and then have a look at each other's as well, because I think it can be really fun to see like, oh my goodness, that person shares that part of that dream with me, or that person's got a dream life that I would not enjoy at all. It sounds like a nightmare to me, but I can see how lit up they are by it. I find it just endlessly fascinating. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Let's have a really interesting conversation there. And until next time, go and live that dream life, my love. Bye for now.